really been 6 years since I first went live? Oh, indeed it has. What is up, everybody? This is your boy, Teran Rodriguez, bringing you the 6th-year anniversary special of Set Point. And with me, I have a lot of volleyball discussion from the NCAA, from the FIVB to a little high school girls volleyball. I have it all for you. But I've got a volleyball-related Q&A, so please do send me your volleyball-related questions. Also, I'm going to be talking about the origin of Set Point, how I first got started, what it sounded like first of all, and what it needs to be on the air for 6 years. Oh, we also have some volleyball to discuss as well, as Colorado knocked out BYU and Utah in Big 12 play. Are the Buffs for real? Why are they not getting the love that they deserve? Also, how about Italy wins the FIVB Men's World Championship over Bulgaria? Yes, Bulgaria made all the way to the final but fell short. Also, we had UCLA knocking out Penn State as well as many other amazing matches. Hand me a volleyball. Just next, because I'm about to start getting volleyball action here on Set Point. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you the 6th-year anniversary special of Set Point here on iSports Radio. Your feed for all that is sports. And welcome one, welcome all to another edition of Set Point. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday morning, Tuesday evening, Tuesday wherever you are listening from. Either way, you've made it way to episode 318 of Set Point. Without any further delay, let's begin. But first and foremost, Set Point would be not where it's at on this 6-year anniversary special without iSports Radio providing the platform to go live on YouTube, X, Twitch, you name it. Please do follow iSports Radio on several different social media platforms such as X, TikTok, and Instagram. Also, subscribe to iSports Radio on YouTube. We would greatly appreciate it. We're trying to reach 500 subscribers, and with your help, we can definitely make it happen. So thank you to iSports Radio, and thank you to everyone for all of your support. For the last 11 years, iSports Radio has been bringing you amazing content, ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports days around the country and all sports in general. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making iSports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. A huge shout out to our sponsors, Planet Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, and Vital Apparel. So without any further delay, let's get on in to what our sponsors are all about. I will see you a little bit later.
Hi, eSports Radio fans. This show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clinking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
That's right, everybody. Definitely check out both of our sponsors. We appreciate them for being the official sponsors of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. And the way you can follow Setpoint on social media is on X and TikTok at @set_point_IE. You can also follow me personally on X as well at Teran Rodriguez 1. You can also follow Setpoint on Instagram as well at @set_point_IESR. So without any further delay, let's get on into the volleyball action. So it's the 6-year anniversary special of Set Point, but we obviously have some NCAA volleyball, women's volleyball to discuss. But before I get into that, send your volleyball related questions right over here. Definitely do send your volleyball questions. I will be doing a Q&A at the end of the show. Remember, it has to be volleyball related. I'm not going to answer anything out of the blue. Send me volleyball related questions for the Q&A at the end of this show. So with that being said, now let's get on into the volleyball action. So let's discuss a little NCAA women's volleyball. Again, this is your final reminder. Send me volleyball-related questions along the way, and then I'll read them on air at the end of the show. All right. Now let's get on into the volleyball action. So we had a lot of NCAA women's volleyball results from last week. It was a very fun week. A lot of upsets and a lot of notable results and lots of ranked-on-ranked action. So let's get into it. And again, it feels so surreal. So surreal that I am here on the air for the 6th straight year when it comes to Set Point. But some volleyball action. Got to get through that and whatnot. So kicking things off and going to Tuesday, we did not have anything Tuesday. Wednesday, we had the first of the barn burners. We had number 5 Pitt taking on number 11 SMU, and the Panthers were able to take down SMU in 5, which was absolutely monumental. It was a great matchup, and honestly, this one definitely lived up to the hype. Remember, SMU was one of the few teams that one of the teams that beat Pitt last year in the regular season. And Mike C says, "Congrats on 6 years from your boy Big Mike." Thank you, Mike. I appreciate Big Mike. He is a big Indiana fan, and I appreciate you. I appreciate your sentiments. Anyway, so for this matchup, the first meeting between Pitt versus SMU, we had Olivia Babcock leading the way with 22 kills and 12 digs, and then Dagmar Mortis had 12 kills, and then Blair Bayless had 10 kills as well. And then for SMU, they were led by Malia Jones, who had 23 kills, while Jane Livings had 13 kills. Only problem with SMU is that they hit 0 in the 5th set. And again, it's tough for SMU, but Pitt, I think they're starting to kind of reestablish themselves after a little bit of a slow start. So unfortunately, a tough loss for SMU, but Pitt was just on it. And then some other results. Nebraska swept Michigan. Nebraska had its best passing match of the season, which I think is quite incredible. You had number 2 Texas sweeping Vanderbilt, the first non-ranked opponent that the Longhorns had faced. Number 3 Kentucky swept South Carolina. Kind of surprising, just because I thought South Carolina was going to give everything they had against Kentucky and more. Number 9 TCU swept Houston. Number 13 Texas A&M took down number 21 Missouri in 4. Now this was a pretty darn good match, if you ask me. So for the Aggies, looking at their stats, they were led by Kendall Stowers, who had 16 kills, while Logan Lennicki added 13 kills and 12 digs. She hit 281, so it's not a bad night for her. It's actually good that other players are stepping up for Texas A&M. And then Afina Kas-Akpala had 9 kills for A&M as well. And then for Missouri, I guess I should mention that Texas A&M also hit 260, so pretty good. They held Missouri to under 100 as they were led by Kaylin Alexander, who had 14 kills, while Janet Damaris and Tyra Ariel both had 7 kills. So overall, a tough one for Missouri, but Texas A&M is proving why they are a top 15 team. And this is SEC play. This is where it's going to get really real for Mizzo. So the talent level from their schedule is going to take a massive uptick. And then we also had Baylor knocking off Texas Tech in 4, Tennessee sweeping Georgia. Nice little win right there for Tennessee, because that could have easily been a trap game match. Then Thursday, we had number 10 Purdue taking down Washington, number 12 Minnesota taking down Michigan State. Colorado, all right, this was probably the best team from last year. Colorado knocking off number 14 BYU in 4. This is a team that I don't think gets a lot of love and recognition, as Anna Berlinovich had 22 kills, while Lily Dwinell had 10 kills, and Sydney Jordan and Kayla Payne both had 9 kills. And for BYU, they were led by Sully Davis, who had 15 kills. Brielle Kernavor had 14 kills, and Claire Little Chambers had 11 kills. But I think we're all overlooking Colorado, if you ask me. They actually started the season off really well. They took down a lot of good teams. They were undefeated until they had that 2-game series against Colorado State, which they lost both of those matches. So nothing overly to be ashamed of when it comes to losing to your rival. That when it comes to like rivalry matches like that, it just is so incredibly tough to predict what'll happen. Also on Thursday, we had number 12 Minnesota taking down Michigan State in straight sets. And then we had Iowa State, the Cyclones, taking down Utah, number 23 Utah in 5, which I thought was pretty darn impressive. And they didn't just take them down in 5. They reverse swept them, which was incredible as well, as the Cyclones were led by Aaliyah Goolsby, who had 24 kills. Maya Duckworth had 13 kills. Tierney Jackson had 12 kills. Iowa State hit 250. While Utah only hit 187, as they were led by Cameron Gibaldo, who had 17 kills. Ernie Moai had 15 kills, and Devin West had 13 kills. So, man, I like Utah. I think they have a great program, but they're starting to not look like the team that everyone had thought we would see when it comes to them being ranked early on. Like, this isn't the Utah team I was expecting. Like, this Utah team has kind of been losing stock, in my opinion. So if I am a Utah fan, a Utah volleyball fan, I'm kind of getting worried by this. So it is what it is. But honestly, for Utah, we kind of gotta have a little bit of a conversation with them about why they just are not looking like the team that they looked like last year. So there you have it. Then on Friday, we had number 2 Texas sweeping Missouri. Texas just continues to roll. There, even with all the stiff competition that they faced, they're not slowing down for anybody. Then number 3 Kentucky took down Georgia in straight sets. Again, Georgia could have been a very big trap game for any good SEC opponent, but Kentucky just handled business as usual. Number 6, Louisville swept Boston College. Number 7, Wisconsin swept Rutgers. This was a fun matchup. Number 8, Arizona State took down number 18, Kansas in 5, which was pretty darn impressive if you ask me. Kansas actually led 2-1 in the match, and then Arizona State won the last 2 sets, as the Sun Devils were led by Noemi Glover, who had 25 kills, and she hit 311. Bailey Miller also had 10 kills. As a team, Arizona State only hit 180, but Kansas was no better, as they hit 156, as they were led by Giovanna Zelenovic, who had 18 kills. Grace Nelson had 12 kills, and Reese Patasic had 11 kills. And then Ryan White had 20 digs, which was pretty impressive if you ask me. But so did Faith Frame. So overall for Kansas, this is another 5-set loss. It's like, how many more of these 5-setters are Kansas going to have when it comes to their season? I mean, hopefully for their sake, they can win the 5-set matches when it truly matters. But this is kind of that match where it truly matters. They had a chance to make a statement, but unfortunately, it just slipped through their fingers. Then you had number 13 Texas A&M sweeping Vanderbilt. This was another fun matchup. Number 15 Penn State took down number 17 USC in 5, which was pretty darn good. First set, Penn State just thumped USC. Second set, USC was leading. Then Penn State made a comeback. Third set, USC turned it around, as well as the fourth set. And then fifth set, this was such a clutch performance from Kennedy Martin. She had, I want to say it was the last seven or 8 points for Penn State, and it was just absolutely insane for Penn State. Like, Kennedy Martin is just such a jewel. She's been the bright spot for this Penn State team, even though they've had such a fairly bleak year, especially with all of the Izzy Stark stuff and whatnot. Kennedy Martin led the way with 29 kills for Penn State. She also had 13 digs. Emmy Selman had 14 kills. Penn State hit 229. So overall, a great win for Penn State defending its home turf at Rec Hall. USC was led by Adania Famuina, who had 11 kills, while London Wijay had 10 kills. Abby Mullen had 9 kills. But unfortunately, it was just not enough. And, USC didn't really have the greatest digging night when Taylor Decker she had 13 digs. But I will say, I kind of expected a little more from her. But again, this is a hostile environment. It's a tough place to win at. And USC only hitting 188 just did not do the trick. But I'll give them a little bit of credit. They did have 14 blocks. But Penn State had more than that. They had 16 blocks. So there you have it right there. It's a tough one for USC, but sometimes that's just how it is. And then we had Mississippi State knocking off number 19 Florida in 5. So at the time, Mississippi State was undefeated. And I was wondering, when are we going to see Mississippi State actually do something big? When are they actually going to, pull off a fairly reasonable win, a fairly notable win? And Mississippi State did that, as they were led by Lindsay Mengelson, who had 16 kills. Mele Koro Blagojevic had 14 kills. I remember covering her back in her days at Redondo Union. And then Maria Bernardita Aguilar Toranza had 9 kills. Holy guacamole, that's a lot. And then they also had 8 kills from Ava Anderson and Gane Whitfield Moss. Wow, that's a mouthful of names right there. Anyway, Florida was led by Jordan Bird, who had 17 kills. Jayla August had 16 kills. Milika Vidicic had 9 kills. Florida as a team, they didn't actually hit too terrible. They hit 237. But Mississippi State hit 271. So unfortunately for Florida, it just seems like it's another bad loss after another. But this one isn't as bad, especially since Mississippi State was undefeated. Unfortunately, Mississippi State did suffer its first loss of the season. I think the following match where they lost to Auburn. So yikes. And then we had number 22, Tennessee sweeping South Carolina. Number 24, Miami sweeping Georgia Tech. Number 25, North Carolina swept Wake Forest. And then I guess a notable result from unranked versus unranked was Florida State handing Clemson its first loss of the season, which I thought was a pretty good win for Florida State. We haven't really seen too much from the Seminoles this year, so I'm glad for their sake they were able to pick up a somewhat meaningful win, if you ask me. So a good win for Florida State. And that is pretty much that. I guess also on Friday, if I don't like having to mention the Big West just because it's not everyone's cup of tea, but UC Riverside took Hawaii to 5, but Hawaii did lose another standout player. I think no, it was the following match. I'm sorry, so I'm getting ahead of myself. So forget what I just said on that part. But yeah, UC Riverside nearly took Hawaii to 5. And the fifth set was decided 15-13. It was tied 13-13. Hawaii was able to side out, and then Hawaii just dealt the walk-off service ace. I'm blanking on the last name, but it was Adriana something. But yeah, it shows that Hawaii is missing a couple of its really misses its standouts. Haley Hawkes and I forget I'm blanking on the girls. It's like something Adeyemi or something. Stella Adeyemi, I think that's her name. But yeah, Hawaii is missing its best players, and it's showing in matches. You're about to see it's going to really show in Saturday's match against UC Davis. But before we get to that, we got to go through the other matches. Nebraska swept Maryland. Stanford swept Virginia. Or no, Stanford beat Virginia in 4. This was a good upset. Number 20, Baylor took down number 9, TCU in 5. Look, I get it. TCU is missing one of its best players. She's out for the year. But they've been taking down good team after good team after good team. But unfortunately, they kind of met their match with Baylor as the Bears took down the Horned Frogs in 5. Baylor had 4 different players with 10 or more kills as Bailey Warren led the way with 16 kills. Ksenia Rockmanchik had 13 kills along with Victoria Davis, and Manuela Bibine had 11 kills. Morgan Madison had 22 digs, and Tahani Ulufatu had 21 digs. Baylor had a whopping 88 digs, which that's something you would see in like a Big 10 match, not a Big 12 match, but I digress. Anyway, MJ McCurdy. I wonder if she's related to Joe McCurdy, but I digress. Baylor hit only 200, which I guess isn't terrible. They held TCU to under 200 as they hit 162. They are led by Evan Hendricks, who had 25 kills, while Becca Kelly had 14 kills. So overall, a very good statement win, if you ask me, for Baylor. So I think for the Bears, I'll say this about the Big 12 as a whole. It's getting really fun. There's not been a clear-cut team that has been a cut above the rest, in my opinion. So I think this is shaping up to being a really good Big 12 conference. It's going to be really fun just because it seems like everyone is beating up on one another, and we could be getting a lot of bids from the Big 12, or we can get some bid stealers in terms of the Big 12. But I digress. Then you had number 16, Creighton sweeping Butler. Number 17, USC sweeping the Ohio State. You had Colorado sweeping number 23, Utah, like I mentioned. Again, Colorado is the best kept secret in terms of NCAA women's volleyball and in the Big 12, as Anna Berlovich had 19 kills. Kayla Payne had 8 kills. Overall, Colorado hit 333 on the night while holding Utah to less than 200, 191 for that matter, as Cameron Gibaldo had 15 kills while Emery Moai had 9 kills. So, yeah, Utah and Colorado should be flip-flopped. You're about to see that Utah isn't going to be in that top 25 for much longer. So, Colorado, their stock is rising. Utah's stock is kind of dipping. So that's something to keep note of. And then jumping over to the Big West, and I forgot to mention this on Friday, Cal State Fullerton made history as they swept UC San Diego. So it was the first win for UC San Diego, and it was also the first conference win for Cal State Fullerton since 2023. So Nikki Cannon is doing her thing. I guess also making note of the Big West is that Long Beach State swept UC Irvine at the Brent Event Center. So nice little win in the black and blue rivalry for the Beach. And then on Saturday, Long Beach State did beat Cal State Fullerton. But I will say, I'll give Cal State Fullerton the benefit of the doubt. They did lose Kaya Herwig to a leg injury. And she told me that she's going to get an MRI checked and about if it's fully torn or if it's just like a mild sprain and whatnot. But yeah, her leg was wrapped up. She was on crutches. I saw her last night. Her little sister, who's committed to Indiana, she plays for Los Alamitos, and she was dynamite last night. But more on that later. But yeah, tough times for Kaya Herwig. She did have the match-clinching kill against UC San Diego and Fullerton sweep over the Tritons, but unfortunately she just had a leg injury, and oh man, it kind of makes me a little happy to not have attended that match just because I would hate to see that. But I digress. And then speaking of the Big West, we had UC Davis taking down Hawaii in 4 sets. This was the matchup where Hawaii lost another one of its standout players. So she's out indefinitely. She doesn't know the full extent of the injury. We all don't know what the full extent of the new Hawaii players. I think it's from the right side. I can't really. I actually I'm blanking on the injury, but yeah, it's another tough injury for Hawaii just because, man, they just can't catch a break. This might be one of the toughest years for Hawaii this season just because, well, for starters, they're a fairly young team, and they went 4-0 for the first time in program history. And it seems like they just keep losing player after player after player. Again, I don't really know the exact player who went down. I think it was Kahe Moriwaki. Again, I can't really like fully confirm that, but it is what it is. And man, if you're Hawaii, you just got to feel bad for them, just because they just can't seem to catch a break with all their injuries that they've sustained. Because they're a good team. Let's not twist things. They're a great team, but unfortunately, they just lose. They're losing like player week after week. It's like Minnesota as well. It's like they keep losing players week after week after week, and man, this is just sucky. Because again, they lost Haley Hawkes, they lost Stella Adeyemi, and now they lose one other player to an injury as well. So again, you have to feel bad for Hawaii, and it sucks that they're having to. Yeah, it was Chalet Reed. Chalet Reed was the player that went down for Hawaii. So my apologies if I blanked on that. So yeah, Chalet Reed. She played in all 4 sets and she had 10 kills, which. Okay, so she went down in the 4th set. So she played in the 4th set. She played in all 4 sets, but she went down in the 4th set. So that's got to suck, because she actually was the second kill leader for Hawaii. She had 10 kills, and then Miliana Sylvester led Hawaii with 11 kills. So look, and I get it. UC Davis wanted revenge after Hawaii ended their season last year in the Big West Championship, but man, you really got to wonder what Hawaii would look like if they had all their star players. But I'm just going to say this right here and now. If I'm a Hawaii fan, I'm not panicking right away, because I still think, and this is me saying that, I still think Hawaii can win the Big West Championship. I think they'll win the Big West tournament, and I think they'll advance to the NCAA tournament. This is their last year in the Big West Conference, and they want to end their run on at least a high note and then make it to the NCAA tournament. Will it be tough if they make the NCAA tournament as an at-large? Most likely, because their schedule is obviously loaded. It's a tough schedule, but the schedule doesn't really have too many standout-ish wins, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, now moving on to Sunday, we had Stanford sweeping Virginia Tech. Number 5, Pitt took down SMU in 4. Nice little rematch right here, and Pitt was able to take down SMU in Pittsburgh in 4. So good job. Though the 4th set got a little dicey. I feel like Pitt was in control of that 4th set, and then they kind of allowed SMU to just creep their way back in it, which also saw Pitt use both of its timeouts. But Olivia Babcock had 29 kills. She had 17 digs. I feel that 29 kills are a season high, according to Michaela Chester in her starting rotation of the week, but I digress. Blair Bayless had 12 kills. Pitt as a team hit 310, while SMU as a team hit 268. Not bad for a loss, but Malia Jones and Jaden Livings both had 14 kills in the loss. Favor Anyanwanu had 10 kills for SMU. So my takeaway for the whole series of Pitt versus SMU is this. Pitt is still it, and I feel the ACC still runs through them. Also, don't sleep on them in terms of them not having another Final Four run. I think they have another Final Four run in them. But the only problem is this. Will they be able to take down Nebraska? Will they be able to take down Texas? Will they be able to take – well, they've already proven they can take down Kentucky, but will they be able to take those teams down when it matters most? My biggest concern is facing either Texas or Nebraska, because those two teams are on a collision course with one another. Anyway, so you got Louisville sweeping Syracuse, Wisconsin sweeping Iowa, Arizona State taking down Kansas State in straight sets. This one was a very fun one. Illinois took down number 10 Purdue on the road in 4. And I guess I should mention that Illinois also took down Oregon in straight sets on Friday. So That was a pretty good win for the Fighting Illini, as they were led by Taylor DeBoer, who had 17 kills. Ashlyn Philpott had 12 kills, and Alyssa Aguayo and Auburn Tompkinson both had 11 kills. Even though Illinois hit 185, they held Purdue to 195, which is slightly better in terms of hitting percentage, but it's not terrible. And then Purdue, they were led by Kenna Woolard, who had 16 kills. Grace Heaney had 12 kills, and that was pretty much it. Illinois held them to 47 kills while posting 56 of their own. So this was kind of the concern that I had with Purdue going into the season. Would they be able to beat the bigger teams than them? Would they be able to have success in the Big Ten? They had great success early on in the season, but now I think they're starting to swim into shark-infested waters. So I think for the Boilermakers, I hope for their sake this is just the blip on the radar. But honestly, I just am not sold on Purdue regardless. I mean, Illinois, I think I'm more sold on Illinois more so than I'm sold on Purdue, if you ask me. Because Illinois, they always have a solid team. The problem with them is that they always seem to not win when it truly matters, and then they fall short of the NCAA tournament. So this is a great win for Chris Tomas's squad, but I want to see more from them. I really want to see more. They've got a nice little West Coast swing. Or I'm sorry, that's not them. That's Purdue. Purdue has the West Coast swing. But Illinois will be playing on the West Coast later on the season, so keep an eye on those Fighting Illini. Then you had UCLA taking down number 15 Penn State in 4. Finally, UCLA registers a ranked win. And, man, it took a while, but the Bruins, could they actually be playing some good volleyball? They've actually won 6 straight, albeit some of their opponents are they're not as notable as Penn State is. But Sheridan Leverett led the way for UCLA with 20 kills. Eliana Arzua had 16 kills. She had her first double-double of her career. She's only a freshman. She also had 14 digs. Lola Schumacher had 24 digs. Brooklyn Briscoe had 10 kills. And they hit 264 while registering 11.5 blocks as a team. They held Penn State to 221 and held them to only 6 blocks on the night, as Penn State was led by Kennedy Martin. She had 34 kills, and those 34 kills were over half of what Penn State had. So I think for UCLA, they caught on to Penn State giving Kennedy Martin the ball, and it just kind of backfired. As Penn State's second kill leader was Emmy Selman, who had 11 kills. Caroline Jervicius had 6 kills. It was not enough, as Penn State. What was that? Their 5th loss of the season. I know it's not too much, but keep in mind they only had 2 losses last year, and they've only had, I think someone's made note of this, I think they had like 11 losses the past 11 years or something, or 12 years. So this is their 5th loss. So kind of got to be a little concerned if you're Penn State. I mean, again, obviously the Izzy Stark news sucks, and the win over USC saved the weekend for Penn State. If they didn't beat USC, then we'd have a problem with Penn State, because this isn't the national championship team that we all thought would be. So unfortunately for Penn State, it's just tough times, and they got to figure something out, because this week they've got a big week. No pun intended. Kansas swept Arizona. Florida took down Alabama in 4. North Carolina took down NC State in 4. And then Miami of Florida took down Clemson in straight sets. So that is pretty much that when it comes to all of the notable NCAA women's volleyball matches. So now let's jump on in to the AVCA/Terraflex Division I women's volleyball coaches poll. And let me just switch that date up really quick. Put it to 29. Boom. All right. So the poll, this week's poll, it was posted on Monday, and I'm doing this show on Tuesday because why not do the 6-year anniversary of Set Point on the actual day that I first went live? So Nebraska is number 1. Texas is number 2. Kentucky is the outright number 3. Stanford is 4. Pitt is 5. Louisville 6. Wisconsin 7. Arizona State 8. Texas A&M went up 4 spots. They're 9. Minnesota is number 10. SMU is 11, TCU is 12, 13 is Purdue, 14 is Creighton, 15 is Baylor, 16 is Penn State, 17 is USC, 18 is Kansas, 19 is BYU, 20 is Tennessee, 21 is Missouri, 22 is Miami of Florida, 23 is Florida, 24 is UCLA, and 25 is North Carolina. Utah exited the top 25, and UCLA is back in it. But I just got to say, I think Colorado deserves a little bit more love and recognition. I mean, I get it. UCLA's played a tough schedule, but they have a loss to Pepperdine, and then I get it, they also have a couple losses to TCU, but they also went 5 with Long Beach State. So Colorado doesn't really have too many of those. I mean, I know they went 5 with UC Irvine, which maybe that might have been the de facto, but I digress in that regard. So that's basically a top 25 for this week. The only qualm I see is maybe I'd probably say Colorado should be ranked, because you beat a top 15 team and a top 25 team, and you're not ranked, which is disappointing if you ask me. So it is what it is, but voters, I thought, kind of messed that one up. So, that ain't it. So that is it for week 5 of the NCAA women's volleyball season. So now we got to jump on into the week 6 preview. So week 6 preview is as follows. So it's going to have a lot of notable matchups, namely Nebraska-Penn State, which is the first time the two teams are meeting since the infamous semifinals from last year. But before we go on into that, some other notable matchups. You have number 2 Texas, Georgia. Look, Georgia didn't impress me last week. I'm sure Texas is going to win fairly convincingly. Then you got Kansas versus TCU. Look, this one, it's time for TCU to get back on its high horse. And this one can actually be the make or break de facto matchup in the Big 12. And then you have Minnesota versus at Michigan. This one I think will be interesting just because Minnesota, look, they have been banged up all year. They've lost good player after good player after good player, but they're in the top 10. Let's see how they do on the road, though, because Michigan isn't a bad team. They actually started off pretty well, but now that they've kind of gotten into Big 10 play, Michigan's kind of lost its identity. But let's see if Minnesota can keep its winning ways up against the Wolverines. Then number 13, Texas A&M takes on South Carolina. That's not really of note. You kind of got the tobacco matchup, Duke versus number 25, North Carolina. I mean, Duke isn't the greatest, but you never know with this rivalry matchup. I mean, you never know what Jolene Nagel's team has in store for Duke. And then on Thursday, you've got Illinois versus number 7, Wisconsin. That's going to be an interesting matchup. I really want to see what Illinois can do. Again, Illinois really impressed me with that top 10 win on the road, but let's see how they do against a very good team in Wisconsin. That's going to be a very fun one. You also got Purdue and UCLA. Let's see if UCLA can build off of that win over Penn State, and let's see if Purdue can get up off the mat. Then you have Creighton Marquette. I think that one's going to be on FS1 or FS2. Regardless, that's a nationally televised match, and that's going to be a very underrated matchup. I think Creighton Marquette could go okay. I think Creighton will obviously win this, but for Marquette, they're actually doing a whole lot better than I expected. So that win over Florida really impressed me. I think Ryan Tice is Florida's coach, but the formerly led Ryan Tice's squad is doing good things. So that's Thursday's matchups. Friday we have Nebraska at Penn State. So I want to see what Penn State can really do against Nebraska. They're home. They are coming off of a loss. I feel Nebraska's going to fill the stands just as much as Penn State is. I'm going to guess that this is going to be a whiteout. So, and I imagine Nebraska's going to have a lot on their minds when it comes to this, especially since Penn State was the team that eliminated Nebraska at the in the NCAA tournament semifinals or the Final Four. And also, friend of the show, Emily Eamon, is going to be on the broadcast on the call for this. So y'all are in for a good treat. And you have Kansas Baylor. Let's see if Baylor can continue its winning ways against Kansas. And this is a big week for Kansas because they're playing two really good teams from the Big 12. So we'll see what happens with the Bears and Jayhawks, as well as the Bears and Horned Frogs. or the Jayhawks and the Horned Frogs. And then Auburn, look, Auburn, Florida, I feel can kind of be a good match, but Auburn did hand Mississippi State's first loss. Florida is coming off of, well, they actually won their last match. They beat Alabama, but I want to see what Florida can do against Auburn. I want to see what Auburn can do against a ranked opponent. And this one's kind of a sneaky good matchup. Number 22 Tennessee at LSU. I think LSU is a little underrated, but let me see what they can do against Tennessee. Tennessee, I think, is kind of deserving of being ranked, but I want to see what they can actually do against some stiff competition. And then also, I guess a non-ranked versus non-ranked action. Friday, I hate to sound biased, but UC Santa Barbara at Long Beach State is a good matchup. So UC Santa Barbara was one of the Big West Conference teams that missed the Big West Conference tournament last year because on the last day of the season, they lost to UC Riverside, and then UC Irvine beat Hawaii. So I imagine this is kind of going to be the revenge tour for UC Santa Barbara. And then on Saturday, we have Nebraska-Rutgers. That's not that great. Utah-Arizona State is an interesting matchup. I feel with all the losses that Utah had last week with Iowa State versus against Iowa State and Colorado, I feel Utah is still searching for answers, but I feel this is kind of going to be one of those clunker matchups that Utah is going to be getting. So I don't want to say that Utah is going to be losing to Arizona State, but I just feel Arizona State, this is kind of a matchup that is going to favor Arizona State. And Arizona State's this is just setting up for Arizona State to knock down easily. Then you have Purdue versus USC. All right. I want to see what USC can do against another ranked opponent. So they obviously lost in 5 against Penn State, but against Purdue, look, I think USC can actually win this one. You're probably wondering why. You're probably wondering, am I nuts in the head? I think USC is a good team. They're young, but they're talented. So I feel the Trojans, the women of Troy, definitely got to get off the mat. I definitely think that this is a good matchup to watch. I only wish if only I hadn't committed to something else on Saturday. You're about to see what I'm committing to on Saturday. But yeah, USC Purdue is going to be a very fun matchup. So keep an eye on that this weekend. North Carolina, Duke round 2. They're getting the tobacco matchup right out of the way for both Duke and North Carolina. And then also on Saturday, the match that I'm planning on going to, which I think is going to be a great matchup, is Cal Poly at Long Beach State. Again, I am a Big West advocate, but this one kind of is an interesting matchup because Cal Poly is undefeated going into this week in Big West Conference play, and then Long Beach State is undefeated undefeated in Big West Conference play going into this week. Long Beach State saw their season come to an end against Cal Poly, and last year Long Beach State almost beat Cal Poly last year at the Pyramid. And I want to see what Long Beach State can do against 2 quality Big West Conference teams, against the likes of Santa Barbara and the likes of Cal Poly. Because Cal Poly is going to be the biggest challenge. Between Cal Poly and Hawaii, most likely Cal Poly, that's going to be the guard in terms of winning the Big West. Unless Hawaii can get it together, which I'm certain they can. And then Sunday, we have number 2 Texas taking on Mississippi State. Okay, I guess. I mean, Mississippi State isn't undefeated, and I want to see what they can actually do against a ranked opponent. Then we have this little matchup. Number 6 Louisville taking on number 4 Stanford. That's going to be a fun one. Rematch of last year's Elite 8 matchup, which Louisville wound up winning. So I'm going to be interested to see what the Cardinal can do against the Cardinals. Georgia Tech Pitt is also a sneaky good matchup. Again, Georgia Tech, as I've said on shows past, they don't have the talent. They don't have the team that they did last year. They don't have the international talent that they've had in years past. But maybe they could play spoiler to Pitt. I feel this one can be a little bit more sneaky good than most people give it credit for. And then you have Wisconsin hosting Michigan. Kind of can be a good matchup, but again, I want to see what Wisconsin can do against Michigan. And I guess I forgot to mention this matchup last Sunday. Northwestern beat Oregon in 5, which is the best win we've seen in the Tim Nolan era. So last year, Northwestern won 5 matches. It was pretty ugly for the Wildcats. This year, I think they've won like 11, which has doubled their win total from last year. And I think Northwestern is on the come up. And Tim Nolan is a great coach. Let's not get things twisted. Tim Nolan's a fantastic coach. He helped turn GCU into an NCAA tournament team, and he'll definitely do his best to try to turn Northwestern into a possible NCAA tournament team. And then that is pretty much it in terms of some of the notable matchups. Don't want to go through everything through the entire week, but that is that for the NCAA Week 6 preview. It's going to be a fun week, a lot of notable matchups, and I'm really excited when it comes to that. I think it's going to be a very fun weekend. I can't wait for NCAA Women's Volleyball Week 6. But that's going to do it for the NCAA Women's Volleyball portion of the show. We'll take ourselves a quick commercial break. When we come back, we've got some FIVB Men's World Championship to recap, and then we also got some high school volleyball to discuss. And then we've got the Q&A, which hopefully y'all will send in your questions. Remember, send in your volleyball-related questions so I can do the Q&A. So there you go. That's your little reminder of while I do this commercial break. But we'll take ourselves a little bit of a commercial break. When we come back, we got all that and more here on Set Point on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernick.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the 08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies.
And your one-timers.
You wicked wristas.
And be sure to protect your five-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Dentarius Law.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That give you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
Hello, everyone. My name is Daryl Kinsey Jr., and I'm welcoming you to take another lap with the fastest show on IE Sports Radio. Yes, this is the Extra Mile with me and my co-hosts Christopher Lehman and Michael Ward. We talk everything racing from NASCAR to IndyCar to Formula One to limited hydroplanes, endurance racing, the NHRA, and more. So come join us for an hour of great racing talk and a lot of fun as well on the Extra Mile, Thursdays at 8 p.m. only on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Back with the final segment of the 6-year anniversary of Set Point here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out all of our shows on the station. We have all sorts of sports happening, whether it's hockey, baseball, basketball, the list goes on and on. Anyway, so now without any further delay, let's go into the second half of the show. So again, send me your volleyball-related questions down below. I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. So let's talk some FIVB action. So the men's championship actually just wrapped up this past weekend, but there was actually some news that in 2027, the United States and Canada will co-host the FIVB Women's World Championship, which I think is pretty darn awesome if you ask me. So what I think of that is that it's really incredible, and it's not too far away from here, and that's actually perfect because the following year is that the Olympics will be hosted by Los Angeles. So I think it's really, 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 really cool. So I hope for the sake of California that they can have drawn a big crowd, because I'm for sure going to do my darndest to try to make it into to try to go to some of those matches and be a media member as well. So I am excited for that personally but they haven't really finalized where it's going to be held at. I think Anaheim is the final location in terms of for the finals, but I think it's going to be held in like various different areas around the world. I think some of the host sites will include like Omaha, Nebraska, which would make so much sense. Maybe Chicago, Illinois, or so on and so forth. So that's kind of that little bit of news right there. And yeah, I'm excited for it. So now let's get on into the men's world championship, if you ask me. So last time we left off at the round of 16, which hadn't been decided yet. So the round of 16 was as follows. Czechia swept Tunisia, and then Iran swept Serbia. All right, now we can move on to the quarterfinals. So quarterfinals, we had Italy sweeping Belgium. Okay, this was kind of not surprising. I mean, Italy is pretty darn good, so come on. That was pretty obvious. Then we also had Poland taking down Turkey in straight sets. That was also kind of obvious because Poland has just been dominating everything in terms of men's volleyball. So there you have it. And then that was the first day of quarterfinals. The second day of quarterfinals saw Czechia and Iran face one another. Honestly, I would not have predicted that matchup even if I tried. But Czechia took down Iran in 4, which I guess is kind of good. I mean, Iran was having a good season. Remember, they had a great VNL run, but unfortunately was kind of the first one out due to China hosting. So it was the case of Iran made the top 8, but since China was hosting, they had higher priority and got the 8 seed, while Iran was the first one out. So a great season in terms of the FIVB on the men's side for Iran, but Czechia advanced to the semifinals. And now we got this matchup, the United States versus Bulgaria. And the first 2 sets, USA wound up taking 25-21 and 25-22. Or, I'm sorry, 25-21 and 25-19. So everything's looking good, right? Well, no. The United States dropped the third set 25-17. Kind of expected, just because, come on, this is Bulgaria we're talking about. Moni Nikolov and Alex Nikolov were not going to go down without a fight. And then the fourth set, the United States had their chances, but Bulgaria was able to inch out that fourth set 25-22, forcing a fifth set. And then the fifth set, Bulgaria just barely edged out the United States 15-13. So the United States got reverse swept, which was so depressing. So sadly, it's just a sad way to end. But if you remember last week's show, I said Bulgaria was going to beat the U.S. I know y'all are going to get on my case and say, "Oh my God, Teran, how dare you say that about the United States?" Bulgaria, I said it was going to go 5. I said Bulgaria was going to win, and I felt that Bulgaria had that it factor to them. And the Nikolov brothers and their father really want to see them make it to at least the semifinal round, if not win a medal. And Bulgaria did that. So unfortunate for the United States. There's a lot of future. The future is bright. I just feel that some USA volleyball fans kind of took it a little too personally. But you got to remember, this is not the same exact United States team from the Olympics. This is a whole different team and whatnot. So there you go. So that's kind of the reason why I didn't pick the United States to win. So Larry B says locked and loaded. Yes, thank you, Larry B. Locked and loaded as well. Thank you, everyone else that's tuning in as well. So jumping to the semifinals, this was probably the shocker of all shockers. Wait, we had this little matchup. This is the semifinals. So we had Bulgaria taking out Czechia in 4. Okay, this one's not that surprising. I mean, Bulgaria, they were riding all the high of the momentum from that win over the United States. I just felt that Czechia, look, it was a great run for them, and it was awesome. It was a good feel-good story for them making the semifinals, but they were not going to beat Bulgaria. It was even a miracle that they kept the third and fourth set close, as well as edging out the second set. But Bulgaria was on a tear when it came to that. Their talent level was just too much for Czechia. And then the other semifinal, which was actually on the first semifinal, was on the 26th. The second semifinal was on the 27th. It was actually Italy pulling off the stunner. They stunned Poland in straight sets. Now, Poland has just won everything in terms of men's volleyball this year. They won the VNL. They were the silver medalists from last year's Olympics. Poland was just on a tear, but they met their match when Italy swept them, which was incredible, if you ask me. So, man, just absolutely amazing win for Italy. And just like the women, they advanced to the FIVB Men's World Championship. The third place match, we saw Poland taking down Czechia in 4 sets, which Czechia was going to win with the medal. There's no way they were going to end that off on a sour note. And then in the World Championship, which was on Sunday, we had Italy taking down Bulgaria in 4 sets. First 2 sets were Italy's, and then Bulgaria showed a lot of grit and fight in the third set. And then the fourth set, Italy just kind of pulled the plug on Bulgaria's season. But it was a great run for Bulgaria. They have a lot to be excited about. There's a lot. The future is bright for this Bulgarian team. And I think they're going to do great things when it comes to the future and possibly the Olympics. That's going to be super exciting. And then for Italy, I talk about with the Italy women's side of things being the golden standard. Italy volleyball as a whole is starting to become the gold standard as well. They got silver in the VNL. They got gold in the World Championship. The women have had so much success, and they haven't lost a match since the VNL last year. The women on the women's volleyball team, the Italy women's volleyball team, won gold in the Olympics last year. They wound up winning the VNL last year. They wound up winning the VNL this year. They wound up winning the World Championship this year. So Italy, I say that the women are the gold standard. Italy volleyball as a whole is becoming the gold standard, which I think is pretty darn awesome if you ask me. So congratulations to Italy on being the FIVB men's world champions, and I think it's incredible what they did. So that is that right there for international ball. I really want to know what's going to come about in terms of the Newport Beach Invitational. So the Newport Beach Invitational in terms of beach volleyball is going to be next week. I really hope I got my credential, or they approved me to get a credential. I would be bummed out if they didn't. Maybe my credential's on its way in the mail, but I gotta hope. I just gotta hope for something. But I digress. All right, enough about that. Let's talk a little high school girls volleyball. So in terms of high school girls volleyball, Mater Dei wound up, okay, the Nike Tournament of Champions was last weekend, and I didn't properly preview it, which makes me sad. But two teams that were notable that partook in the tournament were Mater Dei and Marymount, both hailing from California. And you had other good teams like Santa Margarita. Then you had Bishop Gorman, J. Sarah, so on and so forth. So we're just going to skip through pool play and go through the top 16. So the top 16 was as follows: Marymount, Awehe of Indiana, Sprague of Oregon, Sunrise Mountain of Arizona, Mater Dei, Desert Hills of Utah, Santa Margarita, Highland of Arizona, Bishop Gorman, South Point Catholic of Arizona, Orangewood Christian of Florida, Jesuit of Oregon, Fossil Ridge of Colorado, Horizon of Arizona, J. Sarah, and James Logan of Northern California. So in the end, Marymount beat Oahe, Sunrise Mountain beat Sprague, Mater Dei beat Desert Hills, Highland beat Santa Margarita, which I thought was kind of a stunning win. Bishop Gorman beat Sal Point. Orangewood Christian beat Jesuit. Fossil Ridge beat Horizon in 3. That was the only 3-set match in the round of 16. And then J. Sarah swept James Logan. So the platinum bracket, or the quarterfinals of the whole tournament, was Marymount versus J. Sarah, Fossil Ridge versus Sunrise Mountain, Bishop Gorman versus Highland, and Mater Dei versus Orangewood Christian. So Marymount took down J. Sarah in straight sets. J. Sarah is actually a pretty darn good team. They actually took down Santa Margarita earlier last week, and the fact that they did that was pretty darn impressive. But Marymount, it kind of showed why they wound up winning Durango the previous week. Then we had Sunrise Mountain taking out Fossil Ridge in 3. That was a very good win on Sunrise Mountain's part. Then you had Bishop Gorman sweeping Highland, and then Mater Dei swept Orangewood Christian. So the semifinals was Marymount versus Sunrise Mountain and Bishop Gorman versus Mater Dei. Marymount swept Sunrise Mountain to nobody's surprise. I mean, Marymount is really good. They've got a lot of good players like Sammy Dessler, McKenna Barnes, Ellie Vandaway. A lot of those players are going D1. And then Mater Dei edged out Bishop Gorman in 3. That was a nice little get-back game for the Monarchs, because if you remember last Thursday, I didn't really discuss this. Mater Dei actually lost to Bishop Gorman in the best 3 out of 5 format, because the two teams played one another on Thursday, and unfortunately, Mater Dei did not win that one. They wound up losing in 4 to Bishop Gorman. But this time around, Mater Dei managed to get their lick back against the Gales, and the Monarchs advanced to the Nike Tournament of Champions final. So it was Mater Dei versus Marymount, and Mater Dei wound up sweeping Marymount, which, man, and here's the thing. Mater Dei actually was actually in decent control of the second set of the Durango semifinals last week, but McKenna Barnes just went on a serving tear, brought Marymount back, and they wound up taking that set, and then they wound up taking the third, and then Marymount wound up taking the third set, and Marymount wound up winning the whole tournament. This time around, Mater Dei did not give any sort of leeway for Marymount to try to make a comeback. So the Monarchs of Mater Dei, 3 stripes, are Nike Tournament of Champions. And they actually sent me a nice little photo, which unfortunately I didn't get a chance to save it into or upload it into the StreamYard, but it was a pretty funny photo that they made me, that they wanted to send me and whatnot. So anyway, a great win for Mater Dei. I think the demise of Mater Dei was greatly exaggerated just because Mater Dei is still a good team, and they're now fairly at full strength for the most part, unless I'm missing something. But yeah, Mater Dei is just doing big things. Layli Ostavar was named tournament MVP. Addison Cody was named all-tournament. I think Kalea Lee was all-tournament, if not Lizzie Robinson. Either way, Mater Dei, they're back on top in terms of winning a tournament. They actually have a big-time match, which is actually a perfect segue to go into the high school girls volleyball matches to watch for this week. So we got number 2 Mater Dei taking on Santa Margarita. This one has hangover match / trap game written all over it for the Monarchs, because Santa Margarita is actually pretty good. They've got Ireland Real, who's going to Texas, Kate Jackson, who's going to USC for beach volleyball and indoor, Memphis Burnett, who's going to UC Irvine, which I fully endorse. I think Marley Bemis is going to Oregon State. But either way, I think this one could be an intense matchup. I think Mater Dei, if they're thinking that this one's going to be a layup just because Santa Margarita lost to J. Sarah, they have another thing coming. I think this one is going to be a grueling matchup. I would not be surprised if Santa Margarita pushed Mater Dei to the brink, but we'll have to wait and see. And then on Wednesday, we have an interesting matchup. So we have Castile of Arizona playing at Miracosta of Manhattan Beach, which is a Wednesday matchup. So y'all are probably wondering, well, why is Castile why is Castile going all the way out to California to play a California team? Easy. They're actually partaking in a tournament in California, which I'll get into a little bit. But this is an interesting matchup. Miracosta, they wound up beating Redondo Union last week in 3 at their place. So I imagine the Mustangs are going to be riding the high of highs when it comes to that. So, but I feel Castile can kind of give them a little bit of a good matchup. But if we get the Miracosta that we got in terms of Durango and in terms of day 2, I don't know if Miracosta can win. But if we get the Miracosta that played so serious against Redondo, came back from 24-20 down to take that third set and complete the sweep over Redondo Union, I think we can see Miracosta winning this one fairly easy. And then for some other matches to watch for this week, we have number 9 Assumption taking on number 15 Mother McCauley. Now, I'm not sure if it's going to be in a tournament or whatnot, but these two teams are ranked versus ranked in the top 15 via Max Preps. And this is going to be a very, very fun matchup. It's Kentucky versus Illinois, and I can't wait to see what's in store for this matchup. So keep an eye on that, as Mother McCauley took down Marist in 3 sets last week. And I imagine that must have been an intense matchup. That's because Mother McCauley and Marist are from Illinois. So you have that right there. And then also on Thursday, we have number 2 Mater Dei playing at J. Sarah. Now, that one also has hangover / barn burner / trap game written all over it. I think J. Sarah is a little under the radar. The last time I saw J. Sarah, they didn't have Catherine Nowak, but McKenna Ziegler is a fantastic player, as well as Emma Goodrich and Catherine Beatles and so on and so forth. So again, if Mater Dei thinks they're going to walk into J. Sarah and they're going to win this one easy, I think they have another thing coming. I think J. Sarah is going to throw everything in the kitchen sink at Mater Dei this week in terms of girls volleyball. So that's going to be a very fun matchup right there. It's a sneaky good matchup. Some will think that since J. Sarah isn't nationally ranked, Mater Dei is going to roll them easy. I think it's going to be quite the opposite. I think it's going to be Jay Sarah is going to come in with nothing to lose, and they're going to play maybe some of its best ball. And they know if they beat Mater Dei, because I hate to say this about Orange Lutheran, I'm certain Jay Sarah will beat Olu unless Olu plays the match of its life. But this one could be for first place at the halfway point of the Trinity League. So keep an eye out for Jay Sarah Mater Dei as well. That's going to be a very fun one. And speaking of high school matches, this weekend, Redondo Union and Miracosta High will be hosting the annual Redondo Power Classic this Friday and Saturday. So Castile is partaking in this tournament, and then Skyview is also partaking in this tournament, and then Sierra Canyon is also partaking in this tournament. This is going to be a very fun tournament. I always look forward to covering this tournament. I normally go because either a team that I know that I cover personally goes to this tournament, or I just go to it just for funsies and whatnot. But this weekend, I plan on actually writing a article for the all tournament team. This is going to be a very, very fun tournament. There's going to be a lot of talent. I really can't wait to see what this tournament brings in store for us, because I love covering this tournament. It just has a good vibe, and it's also kind of the final dress rehearsal before the CIS Southern Section playoffs. So keep an eye out for that. And if you're in the Redondo Beach or Manhattan Beach area, come say hi. Anyway, so that is that for a little high school volleyball right there. And that will pretty much do it for all the volleyball that I've covered. But today is a special day. Today, Set Point turns 6 years old. So I find it hard to believe that that this show is actually 6 years old. So I'm actually going to shut up, and I'm actually going to play you the first ever partial clip from when I first did Set Point. I'll already paint the picture for you all. So it was a Monday morning. I think it was 11 a.m. I was still in college at Cal State University, Long Beach, or Long Beach State. And I wanted to do a volleyball show for IE Sports Radio just because Larry B thought it would be a good idea for it. But I'll tell the full story a little bit later. But here is a little bit of a clip from the first ever episode of Set Point.
What is up, everybody? My name is Teran Rodriguez, and this is the debut of Set Point, hosted by yours truly, Teran Rodriguez, which is me, of course. And good morning, Monday morning to you all. I hope you all had an amazing weekend. And yes, this is the debut of Set Point, where I'm going to be talking about NCAA women's volleyball, NCAA men's volleyball, and NCAA beach volleyball, with a little bit of pro volleyball, indoor and outdoor, here and there as well. But enough about that. Let's get started. Let's get started on...
Yeah, that was me all the way back then. Back before I did this whole video thing or StreamYard, we actually did Spreaker. So it was more of an audio podcast before we all decided to switch it over to StreamYard. So that's what I sounded. I know it sounded choppy. My laptop, unfortunately, just did not agree with having a built-in mic. I eventually wound up buying a actual mic for my computer, a headset mic, and then I decided to switch it over and buy myself a Blue Snowball and whatnot. So eventually, that's pretty much the story right there. But how I love to always tell the story of Set Point, and unfortunately, no one decided to send in their volleyball-related questions in the comment section or anything of that sort, which, man, that's a little saddening if you ask me. This always happens. Every time I try to get a Q&A going, no one sends me their questions. Anyway, might as well just tell you all the story of how Set Point first came to be, though. So it was, I think, back in August where well, first I joined iSports Radio in June of 2019. Larry B was wondering if I could be the co-host of the baseball show back when we had one. It was called Bases Loaded. And, I still did my thing. I enjoyed doing the baseball show, but fortunately there was a little bit of a falling out. And Larry said, well, you can always be my co-host for Defining Moment and 3 and Out College Edition. So unfortunately he just got busy, and sadly, he unfortunately just did not have the time to have me as a co-host because we were always shuffling around everything. And I basically told him, well, you brought me on to podcast and be a host of a show, and I'm not getting that opportunity. So what's up with that, huh? And he said, well, seeing as you know a lot about sports, particularly volleyball, why not do a volleyball show here on iSports Radio? And thus Set Point was born. It took a little while to get me off the ground, especially since I was still in college and I had to shuffle around the days of what I did at first. So, because again, I was a student and I couldn't really I had a 5 p.m. class, which was not convenient. So I had to do the show on sometimes on Monday mornings, maybe Tuesday afternoons, and then and sometimes I would even do 2 a days, which was not ideal just because I didn't want the show to be way too long. So yeah, that was another thing right there as well. So at first, I didn't really have the success in terms of being well known. I mean, I still struggle with being well known as it is, but it was just frustrating. And interestingly enough, is that I think it was like back in December. I think it was like mid-December, where finals were basically on the horizon and final projects were on the horizon. I had to miss a week of Set Point. I messaged Larry and said, Larry B, I can't do Set Point this week. I have too much going on in school. I'm going to have to try again next week. And he was understandable about it. But after that, I've never missed a week of Set Point, which is pretty fascinating if you ask me. That's a fun fact about Set Point. Actually, no, it wasn't in December. I think it was in March or something. I had to do a project, and I foolishly decided to put it off until the last minute, and I couldn't do Set Point on Monday. So yeah, I was just too tired. I was just exhausted. I just said, I can't do Set Point. I've got a massive project due. I think it was the exact date was like March 1st, 2020. So that's a little Snapple fun fact. That was the last time I missed a week of Set Point. Ever since, I've never missed a week of Set Point. No matter how sick I've been, no matter what has kind of come up for me. Either way, I just find a way to keep doing Set Point, which I think is pretty incredible if you ask me. So speaking of 2020, that's when the pandemic came along, and unfortunately, volleyball just stopped. All sports stopped. There was no volleyball to cover, and I tried to be creative with it. And before the pandemic started, I actually kind of came back that following week, following me missing the week of Set Point. I just kind of felt the vibe that no one was tuning in, and I just felt to myself, do people really actually listen to me? And it really sucked because I just felt a little empty when doing this. It's like, will people even notice if I stop doing Set Point? And I honestly did want to quit doing Set Point, but I just kept on going. I just felt the need to just keep on going, keep pushing, and just say, hey, I'm going to keep doing Set Point no matter what happens, no matter if people tune in or people don't tune in. And I'm eventually going to turn this thing into something. And eventually I did keep going live with during the pandemic, even though I had to have like a bunch of guests on, mostly high school volleyball coaches and whatnot. But yeah, it was still an interesting time back in the pandemic. But thankfully, I was able to work my way and get through the pandemic without missing a single week, which I thought was pretty incredible, if you ask me. So, and to also touch upon that, I've had lots of numerous guests. I've made a lot of friends, and some even recognize me saying, hey, you're that guy that has the volleyball podcast, or you're the Set Point guy. Even though I do have a name, it's not Set Point guy. It's Teran Rodriguez. But yeah, I've met a lot of amazing people. I've interviewed a lot of amazing players and coaches. I've met some amazing professional athletes, whether it's on the beach side, whether it's on the indoor side of things. I've covered the future of college volleyball players in terms of high school. Earlier today, I actually had a thank you from Michelle Bamford, a friend of the show, of Prep Dig. She said she's enjoyed working with me, and it's great to work with me, and that really made my day. And the fact that she also kind of promoted my little post on Instagram, that also made my day too. I really do appreciate her for being part of it, because this is kind of a passion project, and what she does is also a passion project. So it really just means a lot that she reached out and said, it has been great working with you. And it really just means the world to me that she would say that to me. It really meant a lot to me. So don't worry, y'all. I'm not going to cry or anything, but it just meant a lot that she reached out. And also one of my followers, he was nice enough to say congratulations to me on surpassing 6 years of set point. And he says, here's to the next 6. And I'm hoping this can continue for 6 years and beyond. And it really does mean a lot that I got support from Cheese Trader, aka I forget his actual name, but I'm not going to put his actual name on air. Just I most of everybody refers to him as Cheese Trader, at Cheese Trader 1. He's a Wisconsin fan. Be nice to him. But anyway, I really got to thank I got a lot of thank yous. First of all, the supporters, first of all, the players and the coaches. Sometimes I've interviewed coaches after losses. Like, for instance, I interviewed Brian Rosen after a loss, which was the Creighton coach. If you saw that interview, he did not look pleased. He just said, it looked like he had the expression of, I don't want to do this interview. But he was a good sport about it. And the reason why I interview coaches after a loss is because I want to get their perspective. Maybe they were missing a player. He told me that he had to shuffle a lineup because he was missing a few players here and there. And that's totally understandable. And I feel horrible having to interview. I would rather interview a coach instead of a player, because if I interviewed a player doesn't want to talk after a loss. That's the big thing right there. So I really got to thank the players and the coaches, whether it's high school, whether it's collegiate, whether it's professional. I really got to thank those people for letting me interview them. And I also got to thank their SIDs or their information directors for allowing some of these interviews to happen. Especially for like USA Volleyball. Like, you don't just want to interview a person out of the blue. Like, it just doesn't work that way. So I really do appreciate everyone that helped me get some of these interviews, whether it was coaches, players, information directors, athletic directors, so on and so forth. It really does mean a lot. So my next thank you goes out to Larry B. Let me just put his comment on there. This guy right here, Larry B, locked and loaded from earlier in the show. So yeah, Larry B is a big part of Set Point. Look, at first I didn't really think that this was going to be a great idea. I didn't even know how far I would take this whole thing, but I'm still doing what I'm doing today after 6 years. And this is with me, having gone through working retail, going through college, trying to make it in the big times, doing freelance work, etc., etc., etc. So Larry B is a big part of Set Point being here. He is the heart and soul of IE Sports Radio, the czar, as Adam Karnick would call him. It really does mean a lot that Larry gave me this opportunity, and I'm forever grateful for him, and I appreciate him for all that he's done. And I also appreciate him for live tweeting the show out as well, just because he got home from work a while ago. He's a teacher, and the fact that he was kind enough to even live tweet, even though I kind of had to help him out a little, just give him the correct guidance. the fact that he live tweeted after a day of work, it really does mean a lot that he did that. So I'm forever grateful to Larry for not only giving me the opportunity for Set Point, but also for live tweeting today's show as well. So thank you to Larry B for everything you've done for not only Set Point and helping me out, but for IE Sports Radio as a whole. And then my next thank you goes to the supporters and the followers and sometimes even the haters. So for starters, the supporters that have pretty much been here since day one. You rock. To the new supporters, I really do appreciate you. To the supporters who've kind of come and gone, thank you for your time. Whatever, I guess. And I guess to the haters, you're my motivators. But to those that basically just say kind things, to have been complimentary to me, whether it's via social media, whether it's in person, it really does mean a lot to me. That's the fact that you say kind things, the fact that you say, I appreciate everything that you do, means a lot to me. And it's not just from parents or fans or anything of that sort. It's the players that sometimes reach out. I remember, I forget the guy's name from Ball State. I think it was like Janice something. It was a real standout at Ball State, but it was Ball State's one of Ball State's best players, and he said, "Hey, I appreciate everything you do for the sport of men's volleyball," and it really means a lot. So it really, when I get comments like those, it really does mean a lot. It really just means that they actually watch my work and they watch what I do and watch what I say and whatnot. And it really just means a lot. So I really am appreciative of all of my supporters, the followers, the day ones, and everyone who's been a part of this. So it really just means a lot to me. And I really do appreciate everyone's support and whatnot. And then I think, and anyone that I've missed, I appreciate you all. The 193 that are watching me either on YouTube, on X, on Twitch, I really do appreciate you all. I really do appreciate you all tuning in. It really means a lot. And I'm forever grateful. Also, hold on. I also got to mention my boy Marcus Los Great. He popped in the chat room. He said, salute. Marcus actually gave me a bit of advice. And this was, I think, on the 1 year anniversary special. I think it was either the 1 or 2 year anniversary special. And obviously he heard the story of Set Point and the part of, I actually did want to quit Set Point at one point, but I just kept on going. And Marcus said probably the best thing ever and the most truthful thing ever. A house is never built overnight, Teran. And, you know, he's right. A house is never built overnight. So I got to give a big thank you to Marcus Los Great. He's not with the station anymore, but, you know, he's a great supporter. And I'm sorry if I'm saying, you know, a lot, but honestly, I do appreciate Marcus Los Great's support. He really, really opened my eyes when it came to that little comment. And it's the truth. Success doesn't happen overnight. You got to keep on growing and whatnot, because a house is indeed not built overnight. And it really just means a lot. And that comment really meant a lot that one day. So there you have it right there. And God, there's got to be more people. I guess my brother, who was nice enough to let me do Set Point in his apartment, which I appreciate him for lending me the living room and whatnot, even though his living room is pretty small. I mean, he lives in an apartment complex, and it's not an apartment complex, just an apartment, and it's not really the most spacious and whatnot. But I really do appreciate him giving me the space and time to doing Set Point and whatnot, even when I was in Texas, even though he didn't necessarily like it, just because reasons and whatnot. But I really do appreciate him for lending his space and whatnot. And then there's got to be other people that and I guess that's pretty much it. I have already thanked the supporters and the parents and the players and the fans and everyone who has liked my work, who has shown appreciation for me, who reached out to me saying congrats and whatnot, and all my IE Sports Radio family, past and present. It really does mean a lot that that y'all have tuned in and that y'all have supported me. And I really just appreciate it. I honestly think that it's amazing that I get a lot of support from you all, and it really just means the world to me that you all could be doing something else, but you chose to support me, you chose to interact with me, you chose to basically, and even those that have given me advice, I kind of got some constructive criticism, particularly from one guy, Robert, but I have gotten some constructive criticism. One time I blanked on Nebraska's name and he kind of called me out on it. And then someone else kind of messaged me saying, you have great insight and whatnot when it comes to volleyball, but you lack the graphics and it just gets long-winded. So I took that into consideration. And the reason why I don't do graphics when it comes to my content videos on social media is because I don't want IE Sports Radio to get sued. I don't want myself to get sued. I just don't want to run the risk. So if I have to be plain and simple like I am now, so be it. But it is what it is. And I do appreciate everyone that gives me great advice and that wants me to be successful and whatnot. So with that being said, I think I've said what I've said when it comes to set point and whatnot, and I really do appreciate it. So that's going to do it for this week's episode of Set Point. That's going to do it for the 6-year anniversary of Set Point. I really do appreciate everybody that's shown me support, that's shown me the love, that's been with me through the good times, that's been with me through the bad times, that's been with me through the tough times, the times where I just wonder why the heck am I not successful. But I really do appreciate it. So for everyone here at IE Sports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. It is time, as I would say back in the day, to drop the beat, because I'm about to dip like a banana in chocolate. You feel me? Thank you to everyone for tuning in. For everyone here at IE Sports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. Have a great week. Enjoy all the volleyball action. I'll see you most likely on Saturday at Redondo Union / Mira Costa High, as well as Long Beach State for Long Beach State Cal Poly. But again, thank you once again for 6 years of Set Point. Here's to 6 years and more to come. And I will see you next time. Take care, everybody. Have a great week. And again, enjoy the volleyball action. Peace.